We got Jay Diggs on the line right now. I don't know if you're in the Bay Area, but right off the plane. What up, Jay Diggs?
Yada.
How you doing out there, my man?
What's up, bro? Yeah, man, just landed in Las Vegas, fresh off the plane.
Okay, so you're actually in Vegas right now.
Yeah. I just flew in from the Bay, just landed, man. I ain't been off the plane 15 minutes, bro.
All right, yeah. So I'm happy you're taking the time out to check in with us in that case. And like I said, you're originally from the Bay Area. Right now, you got a little. You've been hanging out in Vegas right now. Why don't you tell the people, some of the projects, what you're working on in Las Vegas right now?
I'm still working out of the Bay. Actually, that's where I'm coming home from. I live in both places, so I go back and forth. But I'm working on my new album right now. Of course, I don't know if you know it now. I got the 3 albums that I just dropped a few months ago, The Good, The Bad, The Ugly. First time ever done. 3 albums dropped on the same day. And right now I'm working on the last American Gangster album. BET, we was the last episode of American Gangster that BET is running.
Yeah.
I'm doing my last American Gangster album. That's the album and the DVD.
Okay, and speaking of...
And then, just matter of fact, this month, on 16th, me and Factor out of Kansas City got an album coming out, so that's dropping. I'm working on me and Messy Mars album right now. Me and Messy
Nice.
Dropped one right before the summer, too, so I got a lot of stuff going on. Trio Television 3 out this summer, man. I'm just keeping it lit for the nation right now.
All right, 2010 looking big for you, most definitely. You mentioned, of course, American Gangster. Just a little bit of history for people that aren't too familiar with you. Of course, you grew up in the Bay, and you were part of the Romper Room gang, and you grew up rocking a lot with Mr. Mac Dre, the legendary Mac Dre, rest in peace.
Yes, sir.
And something actually I would like to hear your opinion on. Of course, a couple of months ago, Crooked Eye talked about, some of the older dudes holding down the West Coast and not really opening up doors. And I got to say, back when Mac Dre was really popping on fire with the whole Thizzle movement, it looked like he was putting the West Coast on his back himself and really trying to put the West Coast back on the map. And I was wondering where you feel, the West Coast music stands right now.
Well, and like you said, he was, but our movement is a whole different movement than the major movement. We got an independent movement, man, so it's a lot harder for us to get our words out, and to push the Bay as much as we want to, being that we really pushing the independent movement. The thing about it is, with Dre is Dre, he was making a hell of a noise because he was a legendary rapper. He'd been in the game for a while. So he was making a mark, and he had everybody looking this way. But what's holding us down right now is that we don't got the, they looking at us and they talking to us and all, but they not saying all the right things right now. So we haven't made that one final step. They got, one thing about the Bay Area is that they haven't came over that much. We only got a handful of artists out the Bay Area that's ever even been on major labels. Like right now, you can really name the guy that's holding it down majorly. That's like 42 short.
Yeah.
Baby Bash, them the guys out the Bay Area, they got the major label deals right now. They can really, they do something, So, with that being said, right now in 2010, I got all the labels looking my way. So we looking to create a situation, maybe a better home. Just depending, I want to make sure I keep creative control. That's one of the things about us. And why we haven't moved yet, because I control this label to the fullest. So everything I do, I can put out a project what I want, who I want to put out, when I want to put out, where I want to put it out. And that's important when you're dealing with your music, because when you go to these majors a lot, they take over your creative control.
Yeah, for sure, most definitely. And a lot of people talk about that. I mean, right now, with the power of the internet, independence can be very powerful. You can get a lot off the units that you push, and you have control of actually how the music's pushed with the power of the internet. And you just dropped 3 albums, like you mentioned, on the same day. Why don't you let the people know what they could expect from those 3 albums besides the Hood track that we got spinning on rotation over here?
It's called The Good, The Bad, The Ugly, and it's pretty much self-explanatory. I did a good album. That was basically for the kids and my parents, They kind of showed the good side of Diggs, and it was a little toned down, not as aggressive as the rest of my music usually be. Then I got the bad, it get a little more aggressive, and I got ugly. Like I said, it's self-explanatory. So it's 3 different albums. So it's one of those ones where you get one, you probably gonna end up getting the other 2, man. So it's online right now, iTunes. It's out there, man. It's a good look right now for us. And we actually right now is Familiar with the Hughes brothers that just did
Nice, yeah.
the Washington movie. We're talking to them right now. We're in negotiation. We're probably locking down this Romper Room Gang movie, the Mac Dre story and all. So
Like,
they probably be the guys that end up doing it.
Like a biography or like a movie, scripted movie?
Actually scripted movie.
Nice. That's pretty crazy. And actually, so let's get into that. Speaking of that, the Romper Room Gang, of course, you know, and what mainstream people might know Mac Dre for more, you know, unsolved mysteries and all that stuff. You know, the bank robberies. Why don't you let a little? What took Mac Dre away from music and you away from music for a couple of years? What the whole thing behind the Romper Room Gang was?
Yeah, well, you know, that go way back to when we was kids, man. That was early '90s and '92 when me and Mac Dre we caught a case, you know, of conspiracy to commit bank robbery. You know, like I always tell people, all fairness to Mac Dre, like he really got caught up in a situation, a conspiracy, because he refused to tell on his homeboys, which was me and Kilo. So, you know, that was a situation that pulled us off the streets. I ended up getting 10 years, of course. Kilo got 8 and Dre got 5. And his 5, you know, his 5 was basically, like I said, just for keeping his mouth closed. And he knew he was doing something, he refused to do this. So he stayed solid to us, man, and when he did his 5 years, man, and got back to the streets on a whole new movement, man, and he really stayed to his grind when he did that. So, you know, for that alone, man, you know, he's just a solid dude in my life, you know, he's been a soldier. Yeah,
Mac Dre definitely a solid dude, as I mentioned. I mean, when the West Coast was kindly fizzling out in the early 2000s, early part of the decades, Mac Dre, like I mentioned, put it on his back. Mac Mall, of course, started hooking up with you guys in Fizz Entertainment, and DVDs. I know you guys in the Bay Area are big on DVDs as well. Do you have, besides maybe the actual movie, any DVDs coming out too?
Yeah, well, actually, we got the Trill Television 3 too. But the movie is gonna tell more story. A lot of people don't even know that, like, you know, we gave birth to Mac Mall's career. You know what I mean? Mac Mall came from under the Rump movement. His first album was actually supposed to be dropped under Rump Records. It ended up coming out under Young Black Brother Records because we went to jail. So when me and Mac Dre went to jail, you know, Dre made a call to a friend of ours, Kyrie, who was doing the production for us at the time, and told him, look, man, put Mac Mall out. You know, we needed somebody to keep our neighborhood alive. So there have you. That was the birth of Mac Mall's career.
Okay, and actually, you piqued my curiosity, because speaking of Mac Mall and the starting of his career, I'm a huge Pac fan out here, and of course I know that Tupac directed Mac Mall's first video.
Yeah, that was Tupac's director's debut, actually.
Yeah, and I was wondering, I don't know how, maybe it coincided with your jail time, but did you ever get the chance to cross paths with Mr. Shakur?
Not while I was in jail. Like, we met early in the game, before he was even as big as he was. You know, Pac was a member of a group with another guy that we had on the label, Ray Love.
Yeah, Strictly Dope, for sure. Yeah, Nick Fury knows all about the history, for sure, man.
So Strictly Dope, you know, that was based out of the Bay Area. You know, we found Ray Love, and we actually found Ray Love and Pac at the same time. But Ray Love was actually a doper artist than Pac at the time. He was more, you know what I mean, he was a more developed rapper, and actually he was even writing songs, so he wrote like the song Strap for Tupac, stuff like that. So we had pulled Ray Love back in the late 80s, early 90s, and we brought in me at first, and at the time when we was working with Ray Love, Pac was in the back with Ray Love already brewing his career. So we had met, cross paths, but he wasn't the infamous Tupac that he was, you know, had grown to be. Then he was basically starting off his career at the time.